Batra Daf, Kuf Ayin Dalet Amud Aleph, 5 lines down. Maruk Vuna, Halveo Vani Aref. The guy says, a guarantor says, lend the guy money, tells the lender, lend him money and I'll be a guarantor. Or Halveo Vani Poreat, lend him and I'll pay. Halveo Vani Hayav, lend him and I'll be Chayav. Halveo Vani Noten, lend him and I'll give. Kulum Nashud Arvutin, he's a regular guarantor. Ten Vani Kablan says, give him the money and I'll be a Gablan guarantor, which is more responsibility. Ten Vani Poreat, give him and I'll pay. Ten Vani Hayav, give him and I will liable. Yani all these words are give instead of lend. 10 labanino 10 give him and I'll give. Kablan should kablan and needs a kablan. Ibadu, that's the question. Aveo bani kablan. Let's say they mix the words. Lend him and I'll be a kablan, or vice versa. 10 lo, give him bani arev and I'll be a guarantor. So he used the uh, uh, guarantor with a kablan or a guarantor or a kablan phrase with but saying that he's a guarantor. My what's Marbi Ishaq Lashon Arvut Arvut Lashon Kabut Kablanut. He goes by what he calls himself. He calls himself a kablan. He's a kablan. He calls himself a guarantor. He's a guarantor. Rav Hizda says Kulam Lashon Kablanut. All these are considered kablanut, except Bar Mehalveo Vani Arev. If he specifically says lend him and I'll be guarantor. Rav Amar says Kulam Lashon Arvut. They're all guarantors. Bar Miten Lo Vani except for when he says give him and I'll give it back. Amale Mor Bar Amimar should ask the question. Achi Amar my father Amimar said. 10 lo vanino 10, give him and I'll give, the guarantor says that. And the malve al klum, you don't get anything. Right? Because he says this is the guy took full responsibility for it. So the lender, the borrower doesn't have to pay back anything because the guy took full responsibility. But that's not true. Lo miftar lo malve, the borrower is not patur. Unless the guarantor takes the money and gives it to the borrower personally. That's his way of showing I'll be in charge of this loan. I'll take the money from the lender, give it to the borrower. That means I'm paying back the lender myself. The judge who brought a lender down to the property of the borrower, yani he gave him the borrower's property as a foreclosure. But before he got payment from the borrower, he removed the judge from his position and he canceled the din. Maravar said, Man Hakim the Ma'bad ki who's so smart to do this? Ilav Hanin bered Rav Hayiba Sefram for this rabbi Kasavar, because he holds the property of a person is like his guarantor. And Utanan in our Mishnah says, if someone has a guarantor on his loan, you can't collect from the guarantor, which means that you can't go to the guarantor first. So this judge who went and took the money, took the property instead of going to the borrower for cash, he did it incorrectly because yes, the land is a guarantor, but you go to the person first before taking from the guarantor over here, which is the real estate. There was a guarantor on a loan owed by orphans. Who paid the lender before telling the orphans. Right? So then he tried to tell the orphans that he paid for them and he wanted to get paid back. Payment of a debt is like a mitzvah. Orphans love they're not chayav to do mitzvot because it's not their responsibility. Therefore, he has to wait till they get 13 years old. Rav Huna says, the reason why you can't collect from them is because maybe the borrower gave the lender bundles of money to pay off the debt, right? Maybe the orphans, maybe their father basically had left money behind for them to pay back, and therefore maybe already paid back. That's what we're worried. Nothing to do with the mitzvah. Mar says, "My benay, what's the difference between whether or not they both hold that the guarantor can't collect now?" Mar says the ikka benay is the difference. Whether the father before he died, right before he died, he admits that he owes the money. Therefore, he obviously did not leave coins behind. Einami deshamatu bumet mishamte. Betin put a galut on him, and he died while under galut. Obviously, he didn't have any money. So Rav Huna will allow them to collect from the orphans. Shahumitam they sent halacha. Shematuhu met b'ashamte. If he was in galut for the loan and died was in galut, that you can collect from the orphans. Mete the question. The guarantor has owed a loan document. He tries to guarantor a loan document comes from him and he tries to collect reimbursements from the orphans. He can't collect. But if it's written in the document, the lender received payment from you. Gove, you can collect on the orphans. Bishon Rav Huna de Yeshua makes sense according to Rav Huna. Mishka had like that could be a case where the guy, the lender, the borrower, rather, the father was before he died admitted to it, or he was in galut. But according to the Papa, it's a question: how can you do it? We know that you have to wait for them to become 13 years old to be chayav in the mitzvah of paying back money. Whereas no, Shani Hadim over there is different. The reason why the guy wrote the trouble, went through the trouble to write, I have received payment from you, is because he wanted to get paid back immediately. There's a guarantor on a loan owned by a goy. The pay back the loan to the goy. Before the goy tried to collect the orphans from the orphans of the borrower. Even if you're worried about coins, the dad leaving behind coins to pay back the loan, by a Jew. But if the guy's a goy, since he's going to go after the guarantor regardless, like we said, the Persians do that. We're not worried about the coins. Amalei says, the opposite. Even if you don't hold the guy leaving the behind the coins, regarding the guy, Kevin did since he's going to automatically go after the guarantor, he did not leave coins by him, but the guarantor from before, the guarantor would not have taken upon himself unless he had those coins on him. Also used to say in the Mishnah, a person's a guarantor for a woman in the ketubah. We make that whole case that if he wants to divorce her, he has to say that she's not have hana'ah from him, because otherwise he'll divorce her. The guarantor will pay the ketubah and he'll remarry her for the money. Moshe bar Asvi Moshe bar Asvi was the guarantor of the ketubah of his son-in-law, for his daughter-in-law rather. Rav Huna, which was his son, Bered Surba de Rabbanan, Rav Huna was a rabbi. And he was very poor. Amar Baya said, someone should go tell him, Rav Huna, then divorce his wife, and then she could collect the ketubah from his father, then he should marry her again. Our Mishnah says that you have to be moder hana'ah, that you have to take away that he would have to, before divorcing her in this situation, because the guarantor in the ketubah, he would have to, before going to bedin with the get, he would have to say that he's saying that she can't benefit from him. Gemara says, don't divorce his wife bedin, divorce her with a get outside bedin, and then he can collect the ex-wife can collect the ketubah, and then he can remarry her. The stuff Igla melted the kohen, and then he actually was a kohen, so he couldn't remarry her. Since he couldn't divorce her because he wouldn't be able to remarry her because he's a kohen, Abaye says that's what the luck of the poor people, poverty chases after them. Yani he was poor and he couldn't fix it. That's really true. Abaye says, who's considered a bad rasha, a smart rasha? This is someone who gives his advice. Who gives to sell properties like Rashbag. This is talking about a case earlier in the Masechet where a guy told somebody that his property should go to him, and after that guy, it should go to someone else. So the first guy would sell the property to avoid it passing on, and he would get the money for it. So we see that Abaye, why would Abaye give it etzah? Why would Abaye give it advice for him to do this trick if he says equal to arasha for doing tricks? He says no, Shani, because his father was the guy's father was the Rav Huna's father was the one who was giving the money. It's different. But he also was a Tamid Chacham, also was different. V'ha'arevu. Remember, his second, he was a guarantor for the Ketubah. V'kaim Mishnah said, Arev the Ketubah lo mishtabet. There's no guarantee. There's no obligation. Remember, says no kablan hava. He wasn't just a regular Arev. He wasn't a regular guarantor. He was a kablan, higher level. Since according to kablan the Ketubah, there's a kablan for Ketubah. Afagad let even and he has to pay it even if the husband has no property at the time of marriage. Shapir, that makes sense. The man according to the opinion holds, if the husband has property, the kablan becomes chayav. If he has no property, the kablan does not become mishubat to pay back. What would you say? If he had would he have been chayav to pay it if his son had no property? One answer is maybe he did have property and then they got ruined. A different answer even though generally there's no kablanut over here, because it's his son, he had in mind to do it. He was willing to do it, even if his son didn't have property. The Itmar, right? It says Arev Diktuba, the Arev for Kituba, Divrei Kol Mishtabed. Everybody agrees that he's not become chayav. Kablan de Balachov, a kablan for a creditor. Divrei Kol Mishtabed. Everybody holds it does become obligated. Kablan Diktuba, Arev de Balachov. Please, machloket, where there's a kablan of a kituba or a regular guarantor of an irregular debt. Most of our one rabbi holds Itlen Nechsed Love Mishtabed. If the borrower slash husband has property at the time of the loan or marriage, then the guarantor becomes chayav in it. It doesn't have lumishtabit. There's no guarantee. There's no chiyuv. Umar of other opinion holds ben itle ben netle mishtabit. Whether or not he has, he's still chayav. The achtat halacha is are bekulu mishtabit. All cases the guarantor, the kablan is chayav. Bar me'arev ziktuba, except for the a guarantor for ketubah. The afagav the itle leval. Even though the husband has property at the time of marriage. Lo mishtabed, he's not chayav. My time, why? Mitzvah hu da'avad. The guy is just doing a mitzvah, but love midde hasirah. He's not costing the lady anything, right? The guy just wants, the woman obviously wants a guarantee for a ketubah. So he's saying, yeah, don't worry, I'll take care of it. He just wants her to get married, but he doesn't actually have in mind to be the guarantor. Now, the Gemara says he's not costing you anything, which means another way of saying that the marriage still goes through, because maybe you might think the marriage shouldn't go through because if she's being scammed on this, maybe it shouldn't count. The Gemara says no, a woman would want to get married, like we had a Mesachet Gitin, Tav Armelo, that a woman is preference is to be married, and therefore she is still considered married.